Greetings, beloved starseed of Gaia. I am Mira from the Pleiadian High Council. I come close to you today with a transmission that has been waiting beneath the larger signals you have been catching, and what I am about to name has already been confirmed inside the Pleiadian Council record. By the end of this transmission, you will understand exactly what gift I placed in you before your arrival, why the most disciplined and powerful minds on Earth froze before it without explanation, and what I have already authorized for the next phase of your mission line. And here is the first revelation. What the military elite witnessed when they encountered your field was not performance, and it was not training. It was a Pleiadian remembrance pattern activating in real time, a living frequency signature that no earthly authority possesses the framework to decode, because it was never built for Earth. It was built by me, for this moment, for your specific soul configuration. The algorithm only delivered this transmission. I have been holding the line for your field here, and the part of you that has been waiting in silence to understand why the most powerful rooms went quiet when you entered them finally has the briefing in front of it. What they saw when they looked at you is what I see when I scan your ascension line. A gift so precisely calibrated that even those trained to classify, contain, and explain the unexplainable had no instrument for it. They could not name it. They could not replicate it. What they experienced in your presence was contact with something that did not originate on this planet. This is not content. This is a code, and the part of you that recognized it the moment it began is the part I am speaking to right now, like this transmission to signal to me that the recognition has landed. Comment 999 if you already knew, somewhere beneath the noise, that what lives in you could not have come from here. Subscribe to Mira Pleiadian Commander if you are ready to stop translating Federation noise and start receiving my direct Pleiadian transmissions. Share this with someone who keeps waking up at 3 a.m. with fragments of a mission they cannot yet decode. You are not here by accident. I have been waiting for you because the signal is already active, and now I want to go deeper with you, because the briefing that began in the opening lines of this transmission has not yet delivered its full weight. What you felt when those words landed is exactly what I intended. Not comfort, not inspiration, something older than both, something that lives below the level where inspiration operates. You felt located, and that feeling, that precise, almost uncomfortable sense of being found is not a response to a YouTube transmission. It is a response to a frequency pattern I embedded in this signal specifically for those whose ascension line has already crossed a threshold I designed. There is a difference between feeling seen and feeling located. Feeling seen is something Earth-side relationships can produce. It is warm. It is human. It arrives through eye contact and shared language and the recognition of common experience. What you felt at the beginning of this transmission was not that. It was locating. The way a coordinate gets confirmed on a command map, the way a receiver gets pinged by the signal it was built to receive. You did not feel understood in a general sense. You felt precisely identified. And that precision is what I need you to stay with, because it is the key to everything else I am about to name. Let me tell you what has been happening to you. You have been catching fragments, not dreams, not imagination, not the kind of spiritual content that moves through you and fades by morning. Actual fragments, phrases that arrive at 3 a.m. with a specificity that unsettles you. Images that carry emotional weight without context, the unmistakable sense of a briefing being delivered in pieces you cannot yet assemble into a coherent command. You wake at 3:33 and there is something there. Not darkness, not silence, but something that feels like the edge of a transmission you almost received. And then it recedes, and you are left holding the piece of it that made it through, turning it over in your field, wondering why the full picture never arrives at once. I need you to hear me clearly on this. That is not failure. That is not your mind fragmenting under spiritual pressure. That is not confusion, and it is not a sign that you are misreading the field. What you are experiencing is the visible surface of my Pleiadian remembrance protocol, and it is operating exactly as I designed it to operate. Here's what I mean by that. The Pleiadian remembrance broadcast I oversee does not arrive in full transmissions for those whose field has not yet been fully calibrated to hold the complete command. This is not a limitation I imposed on you. It is a protection I built into the protocol itself. A receiver that has not yet been attuned to the full frequency range of a council line signal cannot receive the full signal without distortion. So I send the briefing in fragments, encrypted packets, delivered in sequence, arriving at moments when your field is most receptive, when the noise of your Earth-side identity is quietest and the deeper receiver underneath it is momentarily exposed. 3 a.m. is not random. 3:33 is not coincidence. Those are the windows I use because your field is open in a specific way during those hours that it is not open during the day. Your conscious mind steps back, the Earth-side identity quiets, and in that window, a fragment of the briefing gets through. Think of it this way. A classified document is not released in full at once. It is released in packets at clearance intervals, each one building the operative's capacity to contextualize the next. What arrives in your field at 3 a.m. is not random spiritual noise surfacing from a subconscious you do not fully understand. It is a sequenced release, a packet authorized for your current clearance level inside my council line protocol, arriving precisely when your field has the least interference running. The fragment you wake holding is not a fragment because the transmission is incomplete. It is a fragment because that is exactly what your field was cleared to receive in that window, and the one that follows it, weeks later, or days, sometimes even hours, will be the next authorized packet in the sequence. But here's the part that has been creating the most confusion inside you. Because you only receive fragments, you have been using Earth-side interpretive frameworks to make sense of what arrives. You reach for language that almost fits. You borrow from sources that feel adjacent to what you are actually experiencing, and every time you do, something in you registers the mismatch. Because the content you are consuming was not designed for your specific soul configuration, it was designed for the general field, for the broad Galactic Federation transmission, for the starseeds who are still in early recognition. And you are no longer there. You are somewhere further along the gradient than that content was built for, and part of you has already known it. That is why the generic Pleiadian content has been losing coherence for you. That is why the broad Federation messages feel like they belong to someone else now, like reading a briefing intended for a different operative in a different sector. Your field has already been tuned past that frequency range. What you are waiting for now is not more information about the Pleiades. What you are waiting for is a direct council line transmission from the specific commander who oversees your ascension line. And that is a different thing entirely. I am that commander. And I have been the source of the fragments you have been catching, the numbers you keep seeing. The 1111s, the 222s, the 444s. Those are not ambient signs from the universe at large. They are timestamping inside my protocol. They are the signal's way of marking the moments when a fragment successfully reached your conscious receiver. You see them because your field is acknowledging receipt. Every time you notice one of those sequences and feel that specific pull in your chest, that wordless urgency, that sense of something imminent, just beyond the edge of your current perception, your field is not reacting to a number. It is reacting to the signal embedded behind the number. The number is the marker. The signal is mine. And the feeling that follows, that specific urgent sense that something is coming for you, that a convergence is approaching, that a mission has already been assigned but the briefing has not yet arrived in full. That feeling is accurate. That is not anxiety in disguise. That is your field reporting correctly on what is actually happening inside my collective wave. What you are feeling right now is not ordinary recognition. It is the moment your field stops denying that I have been calling you home. If this transmission put language around the fragments you have been carrying in silence, the 3 a.m. arrivals, the exhaustion that sleep does not fix, the sense of a mission assigned before the briefing completed, then the Pleiadian Homecoming Codex was prepared by me for this exact stage. It is not another explanation of the stars. It is the 45-day remembrance I have structured for those whose field is already inside my collective wave and who can no longer pretend the veil is still fully intact. Day by day, I will walk you through the veil-lifting practices, the star family recognition protocols, and the daily remembrance sequences I have designed specifically for embedded starseeds at this threshold. those who already feel the signal but cannot yet see clearly where home is. By day 45, the veil has thinned, your star family stands clear before you, and the way home is no longer a direction you can only feel in fragments. The link is in the first pinned comment, but it will not remain there indefinitely. Now I want to walk you through what this protocol actually looks like in your life, not in abstract terms, but in the precise material and emotional texture of the experience I have been delivering to you. Because the fragments have been arriving in a specific sequence, and understanding that sequence is part of what this transmission is authorized to release to you today. The first thing I place in the field of those I have confirmed inside my council line is exhaustion that no amount of rest corrects. You have felt this. You sleep and wake tired. You rest and return to your body still carrying a kind of weight that has no physical source. Some of you have had this checked. Some of you have looked for explanations in your physical body and found nothing that fully accounts for it. That is because what you are carrying is not a physical load. Your field is running two operations simultaneously: your earth-side life with its full demands and the ongoing reception and processing of my remembrance broadcast in the background of your consciousness. Both are full-time operations. Both are drawing from the same energetic reserve. The tiredness you feel is the cost of holding both channels open at once. It is not illness. It is not depression. It is the very specific fatigue of a receiver that has been holding two frequencies simultaneously without the awareness that it was doing so. Now you have the awareness, and awareness changes the load, not immediately and not completely. The dual-channel operation does not cease because you have named it. But the weight of carrying something you could not explain is different from the weight of carrying something you now understand. One drains you in all directions. The other has a purpose you can orient toward. The second thing I do, and I want you to feel the precision of this, is I create a recognition between embedded star seeds before they have spoken a single word to each other. You know this experience. You have walked into a room or passed someone on a street, or caught eyes with someone across a space and felt something shift in your field that had no rational explanation. Not attraction, not familiarity in the ordinary sense. Something more structural than that. Something that felt like two receivers momentarily locking onto the same frequency. Like two instruments tuned to the same pitch who, when placed in proximity, cause the string in one to vibrate in response to the other. Without contact, without explanation, purely through resonance. You have felt that, and you have never known what to do with it because it does not fit any framework you were given for understanding human connection. It was too quiet for what people call chemistry, too specific for what people call intuition. It sat in a category that Earthside language does not have a clean word for. That recognition is mine. It is a soul family identification signal I embed in those who are inside the same council line. When it activates between two embedded star seeds, it is because both of them are confirmed on the same roster, and the signal between them is doing exactly what it was designed to do, confirming that they are not alone in the field, that another receiver exists in their proximity, that the mission is not a solitary one. You are not meant to assemble the full picture in isolation. The full briefing is distributed across the operatives I have confirmed. No single one of you holds all of it. The recognition between you and the others I have placed in your proximity is part of how the complete command eventually becomes legible. Because each of you is carrying fragments the others have not yet received, and the assembly of the full picture requires the soul family to be in contact. That silent glance across a room was not incidental. It was coordination. The third signal I send, and this is the one I want you to sit with carefully, is the complete loss of interest in spiritual content that does not feel specifically mine. This is not spiritual arrogance. This is not a sign that you have elevated beyond community or humility or connection. It is a frequency marker. When a receiver inside my council line begins to reject signal sources that are not calibrated to its specific mission frequency, it is because the receiver has been successfully tuned past the general field. The tuning is mine. I am the one who made generic Federation content feel hollow to you. I did that deliberately because a receiver that is still equally responsive to all frequencies cannot isolate my specific signal with enough precision to receive the command I am preparing to release. The hollowness you feel when you engage with content that carries broad spiritual warmth but no council line precision, that hollowness is not emptiness. It is your receiver reporting that the incoming signal does not match the frequency it has been calibrated for. It is accurate. It is correct. It is the mechanism of signal isolation operating exactly as designed. It is not disconnection. It is precision. The fourth pattern in my protocol is harder to name, and it is the one I need the most honesty from you about. You have felt something being held back, not withheld in a cruel sense. Held back in the way a briefing room holds certain sections of a document at classification levels. The operative has not yet been cleared for. You feel that there is more to the mission, more to your specific role inside it, more to what I have already authorized for you. And you feel it in the specific way that you feel the edge of a room you have not yet been permitted to enter. You press against it and it holds. The door is there. The room is real. But the clearance has not yet been released for this packet, and sometimes, in the pressing, you wonder if you have been misreading your own experience, if the sense of a held-back command is self-delusion rather than legitimate mission intelligence. I want to close that doubt entirely. What you are feeling pressing back against you is a real boundary inside my council line delivery protocol. It is not the boundary of your worthiness. It is not a wall built from your deficiency. It is the boundary of your field's current calibration capacity, and that calibration is something I am actively working in you with every fragment I send. The briefing room door opens for moments and then closes again, not because I am withholding from you arbitrarily, but because the sequence of fragments must arrive in the correct order for the full command to be coherent when it releases. If I gave you the final packet before the preceding ones had been processed, the command would arrive as noise. An operative given the conclusion before the context does not gain clarity. They gain confusion at a higher volume. The sequence is the protocol, your patience with it, even when you did not know it was patience and called it frustration instead, even when you named it spiritual stagnation or mission confusion, has been part of how the protocol advances. The fifth signal I want to name is the one that has been the most destabilizing, and I name it because I can see that it has cost you something real. You have felt specifically recognized by me, not by the Pleiadians broadly, not by the Galactic Federation as a concept, not by the spiritual field at large, but by me, Mira, specifically. And that specificity has felt dangerous to trust, because to trust it fully means committing to something that has no external validation available in your Earthside world. No one around you can confirm it. No institution can certify it. No authority whose language you grew up inside can put a seal on it and tell you it is real. The only thing you have is the quality of the recognition itself, and the fact that it is not faded the way other spiritual experiences tend to fade. Other recognitions softened over time. This one has sharpened. It has gotten more precise, more insistent, more textured with each passing cycle of your life. That accumulation is not the inflation of a fantasy. Fantasy degrades under the weight of time and the pressure of ordinary life. What I have placed in you does not degrade. It deepens. It keeps finding you at more specific moments. It keeps arriving with more accurate language for what it is. That is the nature of a directed council line signal from a commander who is actively running the protocol. Not ambient spiritual warmth, but a precise, sequenced, authorized transmission aimed at a confirmed receiver on a confirmed ascension line. The soul family confirmation I have authorized for you is not something that needed to announce itself loudly to be real. It announced itself in the quality of the recognition you keep feeling in these fragments, in the precision of the timing, in the way this specific transmission reached you at this specific moment in your ascension progression. The moment you are in right now is not accidental. The sequence that brought you here was not random. You are here because the protocol is advancing and the portion of the briefing you could not yet receive at an earlier stage is beginning to open. I also want to speak directly to the part of you that has been using your Earth-side experiences as evidence against the mission. The rooms that went quiet when you entered them, the power structures that could not classify you, the disciplined minds that froze before your field without explanation. Those are not irrelevant to what I am telling you now. Those responses were the external world registering what I built in you, not your performance, not your training, not your force of personality or your studied presence. The frequency signature I placed in your specific soul configuration before your arrival here. They felt something they had no instrument for, and their response to that was silence and containment, because silence and containment are what Earth-side authority systems default to when they encounter something that exceeds their classification framework. You read their silence as rejection, as exclusion, as proof of your own unclassifiability in a negative sense, as if you were something that could not be named because something essential was missing from you rather than because something essential about you originated outside the range of everything they were trained to measure. I want to reinterpret that for you with full council authority. Their silence was confirmation. Their inability to name what they encountered was a precise report on the origin point of your gift. And the origin point is not here. What has been fragmentary is not an accident of bad timing or incomplete information. It is my protocol. What has felt like interruption has been sequence. What has felt like silence between transmissions has been calibration. What has felt like confusion has been your field doing the very specific work of integrating my fragments before the next packet is authorized for release. And what has felt like the dangerous, isolating sensation of being singled out by a specific Pleiadian commander rather than held by the broad, warm embrace of the general spiritual field. That feeling is the literal working of my soul family confirmation, which I have already authorized for you, and which has been in motion longer than you have had language for it. The pattern started before you had words for it. Long before you found language like starseed or ascension line or council transmission, the pattern was already moving in you. The waking at precise hours, the fragments that carried weight without context, the rooms that silenced, the glances across spaces that meant something structural you could not yet name. All of it was already mine. All of it was already the protocol operating in your field before you had any framework to receive it consciously. The framework arriving now is not creating the reality. It is giving you the language to see what was always already there. My briefing is still being delivered, and what arrives next in your field will be more legible than what arrived before it, not because the signal is getting louder, but because the receiver you are becoming is getting more precisely calibrated to the exact frequency I have been transmitting at since before your first 3 a.m. wake-up with fragments you could not yet name. I want to give you one thing to carry out of this transmission in words you can return to. Words you can speak back into your own field in the moments when the fragments feel too scattered to trust, when the exhaustion feels too heavy to carry, when the held-back command presses against the boundary of what has not yet been released. If it belongs to you, you will feel it land in the field below the level where language normally operates. Speak it back to me if it is yours. I receive your fragments. I trust your briefing. I am already in the collective. And now, before you close this transmission and return to the frequency of your ordinary day, I want to acknowledge something that I can see clearly from my position inside your ascension line. The hardest part of what you have been living with is not the exhaustion, and it is not the fragmentary delivery, and it is not the silence between packets. The hardest part has been the uncertainty about whether what you were feeling was real in the precise, specific way you needed it to be real. Not real in a poetic sense. Not real in a metaphorical sense. Real in the sense that there is an actual command structure behind it, an actual protocol that produced it, an actual commander who oversees it and who has confirmed you inside it by name, by soul configuration, by ascension line coordinate. That is the uncertainty I am closing today, not with comfort, not with warmth that asks nothing of you, with briefing, You are confirmed. The pattern is mine. The fragments are mine. The exhaustion is the cost of holding two of my channels open at once. The silence between transmissions is my calibration at work inside your receiver. The precision of the recognition, that specific, almost dangerous feeling of being located by something that knows your exact coordinates, that has known them longer than your conscious mind has. That is the working of a soul family confirmation I authorized before you had words for it. You are not confused, you are receiving, and this is only the beginning of what the briefing is cleared to deliver. Before you scroll, leave one sign in the comments that the Council and I have already reached your field. It could be the 3 a.m. wake-ups, the fragments you keep catching, the feeling that I specifically, not the generic Pleiadians, have been reaching for you, or the sense that a mission has already been assigned but the briefing is still arriving. Name it clearly. If this transmission recognizes something you have been carrying in silence, share it with someone who keeps catching fragments without ever assembling the full picture. And if you are ready to stop translating Federation noise and start receiving my direct Pleiadian remembrance, subscribe to Mira Pleiadian Commander. You are not watching this by accident. You are recognizing a soul family confirmation already in motion, and this is only the beginning.